by coming down to the base of the table and just gently placing our palms onto the soles of the feet. And I'm going to be doing a technique that we call just palm pressing or palm walking. So pouring my weight from side to side into the soles of the client's feet. And the goal here is to just try and give a nice full contact to the entire surface of the bottom of the foot. So with each lift and press, I'm kind of moving the position of my hand to create some nice coverage on the feet. And Karina doesn't have a bolster underneath her ankles, but if you have any issues with your low back, or if you do have sciatic pain, I would recommend using a bolster. You can just put like a pillow underneath the ankles to help give some relief and take off some of the pressure. And you notice that I changed my hand direction there, so now my fingers are pointing towards the inside of the table. And after you've worked on palm pressing the feet, we'll come to thumb press on the soles of the feet. So using just the base of our thumb, pressing in. So there's 9 points on the bottom of the foot that we'll target. So I'm working close to the heel of the foot, then in the middle of the foot, and then towards the balls of the feet. And this is the third round of 3 points. So the first line started more medial towards the arch. Second line was in the middle. Third line's closer to the pinky toe. And I'll repeat those points. So as you work, it's nice to be on the table because it gives the practitioner a little bit more space to work in. You're not having to kneel or bend over. You can take a nice lunge. And it's also more comfortable for the client because they can use the face cradle, so they can actually lay face down without having to turn their head to side. It gives you just a different position to work in. So I like to mix it up a little bit depending on who I have coming into the office to see me. So coming down that middle line right now. And then the outside line. And once you've done 3 sets of those 9 points, we'll come back to walk on the feet. So palm walking, just kind of closing up that work. You can also experiment with using your fist if you'd like. That feels more comfortable for your wrist. And then we'll continue on to the legs, so palm walking up the back of the legs. And I'll come to one side of the table. And just pressing up the legs, skipping over the backs of the knees. Come all the way up the legs and into the glutes. And then I'll palm whack back down. So the techniques that I'm mainly showing right now in this video will all be on the floor, so to speak, so I'm not climbing onto the table. But in some of the other videos, you'll see some techniques where the practitioner actually climbs onto the table, which is really nice as well. So we made one kind of warm-up pass to the legs, and now I'm going to move into working the back sun line. So coming over to the left side if you're working on a female, or the right side if you're working on a male. We're going to work the back sin line. So this is going to run up the midline of the calf. And just using your thumbs to walk. First thumb is kind of the leader, so it goes out a couple inches, and then the bottom hand follows behind it. And you'll continue working just that center line through the back of the hamstring, all the way up to the sits bone, and then reverse direction and walk back down. With all the moves in Thai massage, we try and create a nice rhythmic pace. So coming all the way down to the ankle, and then I'll just close that work that we did on the sun line by walking my hands up and down. And then we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So the thumb pressing up the center line, creating a nice rhythmical pace to all your movements. So not trying to go too fast or too slow. And adjusting that pace depending on the needs of your client. So if they're looking to have a more stimulating session, you can go faster. And if they're looking to unwind and slow down, you can go slower. Skipping over the back of the knee. And then closing with your palm presses again. And then returning back to the feet. I feel like palm pressing the feet and the backs of the legs is kind of a good segue in between moves. So I'll connect both legs after doing that sun line work by walking at both sides. And back down. And we'll come in to do some stretching on this one leg at a time. So again, starting with the left leg for a female or right for a male. We'll bend the leg, and I'm just going to do some nice range of motion here. So supporting underneath the ankle, really bringing the heel in a wide circle. And you can kind of lean your weight in as you start to feel a little bit of a resistance. You're not trying to get a deep stretch here. We're really just exploring the range of motion here. And then after we've kind of done a few circles, we can traction the leg back. So I like to give a little pull before we press and bring the knee in. bring the heel into the glutes. And so you're watching for the client to respond. It's almost like you start to feel the foot press against you. And they may begin to deepen their breath when they start to feel a good stretch. And you can always ask if you're unclear about what their body's signaling. How does that feel stretch-wise? So I hold for about 3 breaths and then come out. And sometimes I'll do a little bit of gentle rocking on the way out just to kind of help loosen the leg. And then we're going to come and do some stretching to the back of the calf. So supporting with one hand around the ankle. Your inside hand comes to the heel, and then you're just using your weight to press into your forearm and stretch the calf. Are you feeling a stretch there? So if ladies wear heels quite a lot, they'll typically feel this stretch pretty intensely. If you have someone that's more flexible, sometimes the client will say that they're not really getting a stretch here. So it's okay if they're not getting a super deep stretch. It still feels really good to kind of open up the back of the leg. And then just doing a little bit of circular motion. So I like to give a little traction back on the leg. And we can also close with a little bit of rowing on the foot. So keeping the leg bent, holding underneath the top of the foot. I'm just placing my thumbs down and just rocking the foot forward, leaning my weight into the thumbs. Nice little way to close. And then pulling the leg once more. And then we can come back to our palm presses on the bottom of the foot. We can say hello to both legs. In between those movements, just palm pressing up and down the legs. And then I'll scoop underneath the right leg now, and we'll come into doing that range of motion. So really exploring the edges of this movement, what feels comfortable. You can switch directions. And then I'm going to come into my full stretch, so just a little bit of traction back before we come into the stretch. And if you want, as a variation with your top hand, you can stabilize at the sacrum. So you're just kind of pressing down into the table over the sacrum. And releasing after about 3 breaths. And then we'll come into stretching the calf. So top hand grabs around the ankle, and your bottom hand, the one closer to the client's foot, will cup around the heel and then press the forearm into the balls of the feet. Holding for a few breaths there. Contraction down. And then do a little rowing. pressing the thumbs into the client's feet or foot. And then I'll rock back down. And we'll end with one final walking pass up and down the legs again.